Hey there Facebook, it is Vanessa here again, your speaker, trainer and coach from Live, Love, Give, and today I have a message for you all about being able to disagree agreeably in order to have really authentic connection and communication and therefore authentic relationships. And this is something that is super challenging and difficult, and I go through it all the time. In terms of trying to navigate that kind of sweet spot between being able to be agreeable, but simultaneously, be able to challenge another person and disagree with them without being stuck in fear of rocking the boat and creating disconnection and it's that kind of middle ground. And for a lot of my life, I kind of just didn't want to ever rock the boat, and I just wanted to I kind of just ended up walking on eggshells and making sure that people felt like I completely agreed with everything that they said and made them feel okay and comfortable. And it's been a big challenge for me and growth curve for me to be able to actually just voice openly what I feel like my perception of the truth is, and sort of just kind of voice that in a kind of fearless way. And it's not often that you come across people in your lives where that's totally acceptable. You're definitely, from my experience, going to run into a lot of people who take that the wrong way. If you have a differing opinion, they want to make it personal. And I think that there are definitely good and bad ways as to how we, can communicate what we really mean without making it personal. But it's challenging, and I definitely fall down at times trying to do this and trying to make it work. And like I said, there's not many people I feel that we come across in our lives where we can wholeheartedly disagree with one another and not make it mean anything about our connection, not take anything personal, and instead be kind of objective about what we're bringing to the table. And in my little world up here, I really value differences of opinion. I really value conflict, and that might seem controversial, but it's not necessarily. Conflict doesn't have to be this really negative thing that brings us down. And what makes conflict bad is when we make it bad. We make it mean something about us. We project poor intention on another person. We project that they're trying to bring us down, trying to hurt us, trying to tear us apart. And then the whole conversation that could be completely mind expanding converts into a conversation that is completely detrimental to our connection. And I'm still trying to navigate this one as to how to make sure that we don't allow our conflict to negatively impact our relationship and take us away from what we're really trying to create, and instead utilize conflict as a source of expanding our minds. I am not you, you are not me. We're all living completely different subjective views of the world, experiences of the world. And if we value evolution, if we value expansion of consciousness, if we value innovation and change and improving things, then we've got to realize that conflict is that ground of being able to do that. When two conflicting views hit each other, that's what creates that conflict. But it doesn't have to stay there, and it certainly doesn't have to be even more detrimental than the conflict at hand. And in actual fact, if we change our relationship with conflict, we can see it as, this amazing thing that without it, we wouldn't grow, we wouldn't expand, we'd be stuck in our small worlds, we'd be stuck in our closed-mindedness, we'd be in separation, we'd be in judgment, instead of realizing that every conflict is an opportunity to learn, develop, not only learn more about who we are, but also learn and expand and bridge that gap in understanding of other human beings. And together, through conflict, if we utilize it in that kind of way, it actually is totally expansive. And that's why, I've come from being a person who thought any part of conflict was just totally so bad and we should just always try and walk the eggshell track rather than, really, come out with what our truth is. Because, when you have those kind of conversations, you kind of can, throw people off path. They take it personally. Then you start making it about the relationship and the connection rather than the conversation at hand. Instead of, as I've come and I'm continuing the path, it's not easy, but, continuing that path into a position of valuing conflict, because it doesn't mean anything about me bringing you down or your disagreement with me meaning anything about me. And in actual fact, it is a necessary opportunity for us to actually go, hey, we've got this conflict. This is awesome because I'm going to be open-minded enough to bring in your perspective. And my hope is that you'll be open-minded enough to bring in my perspective. And together, through that expansion of our subjective worlds, we can actually come up with a really great new perspective that we couldn't have reached without that conflict, that we couldn't have got to just in our own subjective worlds. And this is why I really value our ability to be able to disagree agreeably. Because if we always feel like, oh, but if I disagree with this, like, will this create a big conflict and they'll take it personally and it'll disconnect us and all that sort of stuff, all that does is place us in a position of inauthenticity. We don't feel like we can show up and be all of who we are because it might be taken the wrong way. And I've reached a point in my life where I know my pure intent in those kind of challenges and conflicts. And I really value debate. I love a good debate. I love that we can feel honest enough and open enough and courageous and authentic enough to actually challenge each other at times. And we trust our own and the other's intent enough to know that that challenge is coming from a healthy place. It's not coming from a place of wanting to tear you down and build me up. It's actually coming from a place of deepening understanding and connection and growing and depth and some new, crazy, amazing, innovative idea that we co-create together, and I hope that me sharing all of this is actually giving you maybe a new perspective on what conflict actually is. And it might make you kind of giggle like it does for me when I reflect back on different relationship experiences. And I think about those ones in the past where we've started with a really important issue and challenge, and we've been in that conflict, like two subjective worlds converging, and getting to this conflict about a really important issue. But then after time, we just get so emotionally drained because the conversation has diverged from the actual issue at hand, and it has become what we're our negative projections of the other person's intention about what they think of us. We're taking things personally. We're making their differing opinion mean something negative about us, and we start with this amazing issue that we could get so far with, but it ends up leaving us both feeling completely empty, completely misunderstood, completely judged, criticized, condemned, separated. And what for? Because we had a negative, unhealthy relationship with conflict, and we chose to take things personally rather than focus on the issue at hand and realize that that is the necessary stepping stone. That kind of conflicting ideas is a necessary stepping stone and pathway for depth of connection. And without it, we're just molding ourselves to be liked rather than really growing and developing with an open mindset and an ability to take our feelings out of it and not twist and converge these negative stories that just disconnect us, and actually go, what can I learn from this person? And trust in our own intent enough to not be thrown off our path when other people take things personally as well. So, really hoping that this is of value to you guys. I'd love to check in with you, so please say hi. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. If you've got any questions or any words of wisdom that you'd love to share with our community here, Love to hear from you as always. Always get so much energy and juice from connecting with you guys. So I want to dive in. If you haven't already, make sure that you have joined us in the Limitless Potential Inner Circle Facebook community. Amazing human beings, nearly 5,000 people from over 30 different countries, all, co-creating an amazing experience, reaching our highest potentials in that community. I want you to be a part of it. And definitely, if you haven't booked in one of my 15-minute power sessions and I haven't got to meet you, I'd absolutely love that opportunity to see how I can best support you on the individual level, help you break through and get to the next height of your potential. So let me definitely check in with you guys. So I have got Sanula, hello, and Tanya, and Sam's in the house, and Huss, hello, and Hilton, and Judy, and Stephen, and Seth, and Toynoi, sorry if I mispronounced your name, but I love having you here, and Hazem, and Seth, and Tavis from Orlando, Florida. Good night to you. My day did go really well. Hope yours did as well. Well, it's still going actually. It's only 1 o'clock. And Sam, first time to see you in black. Oh, yeah, I don't pull it out all that often. I'm not really a black person, as you guys are probably aware now. And Jace is here, and Amy, and Hilton, hello to you, and Helen, and Brian's here, hello, and Sam, great, valuable message, love it that you're loving it. Sam, awesome to hear, and Raimundo is here, and Jace, it's hard, I think too many people only listen to respond and not to hear and come to a happy compromise. Yeah, that's super true, but you've said one of my most triggering words. I hate the word compromise. You guys know, if you've been following me for a while now, you definitely know that I don't like the word compromise, because compromise to me means we sacrifice our truth, and I feel like there's a more intelligent way of connecting that doesn't mean that I have to lose something or you have to lose something. And in actual fact, we can work out how you getting what you want actually supports me getting what I want as well. So there's a much more intelligent way, but that's a whole nother story. And I could go on down that rabbit hole because I hate that word compromise, but I totally resonate with exactly what you're saying there, Jace. Definitely. But from my experience, it's that, when we get caught up with only listening to respond, it's really that we feel insecure with our own concepts and ideas, and therefore we're really vested in that other person understanding us and agreeing with us, and then we get totally thrown off when they have a differing opinion, because we're so identifying with that concept or idea because we feel insecure about it. So the best strategy is to start building your relationship with conflict with people that you really trust, kind of go there, and definitely I think we're all guilty of, just kind of overvaluing what we want to say and not listening. So we can all take a line from that book and definitely learn some lessons there as well, Jace. I love it. And Yabaz is here, and Noma, and Sam, how do you handle conflicts with animosity, revenge, and betrayal? Yes, okay, so what I would say, and I always love your question, Sam, so thank you so much, my friend. What I would really say about that is that, everything is a meaning and perception in the mind. Nothing outside of us has any meaning other than the meaning that we place upon it. So if we're seeing something somebody else is doing, maybe it is that revenge or betrayal, and maybe they are coming from that place, but I'm all about empowering ourselves to a place of love rather than fear. Because when we respond with fear and we perceive that they're taking revenge on us or they're betraying us, it puts us in a really disempowered state of being, and we don't actually know. We have to get more curious. But at the end of the day, we have to see, like I'm always telling you guys, that everything is either an expression of love or a call for love, as A Course in Miracles would say. And so if we see people operating from fear, they're potentially trying to be revengeful or betraying us, we have to see that we have to trust in that person's intent. Their intent isn't necessarily to hurt us. They're a fear-driven person trapped in a lot of their own fears and insecurities in that moment, and they're just trying to protect themselves. And if we can see that, and we don't have to take it personally. If we trust and believe in ourselves well enough, then, we can actually just give that person what they need. We don't have to make their behavior mean something about us, and we can, confront them about it in a loving way. I like to ask people in the most non-defensive way possible. And I always feel like if you come from a strong, centered, loving place, and you're seeing that that person's just trapped in their fears and you're not making it an attack on you, you can get that energy. You can come to that person and you can communicate with them in that way that diffuses their fear, and asking them, what are they so afraid of? Because that person is in a lot of fear. Or even if you need to do the work on you and do some perspective shifting so that you can see what's going on in their world and not just get caught up in your own, and shift from, seeing them as attacking you to seeing them as protecting themselves from a deeper fear. All right? It doesn't have to mean anything about you. In fact, when people are trapped in their own fears, it means nothing about you and it means everything about them. They're trapped in so much subjective fear and pain and just trying to protect themselves that, yes, sometimes it projects out onto you, but instead of making it attack on you, be the kind of person who can actually make a situation better rather than worse based on your input to it, which is, seeing it for what it is and actually seeing how you can support them and help them. Always question behavior. Don't let anybody treat you poorly, but trust in their intent is not to hurt you. And that's how you actually establish depth of connection. And you can make a really challenging revenge or betrayal actually bring you to a true depth of connection that you had never experienced and that you never thought possible. But because of that challenge and because of how you were able to handle it and see it for what it was and question behavior but trust intent and see what's really going on for that person and see how you could support them without letting them treat you poorly, then you can actually establish such depth that you will blow your mind. And I've experienced that in my life, absolutely. So I'm definitely speaking from experience with that. But like I said, it's got to start with you. Start with an empowered mindset. Don't take things personally. Be able to get outside of your own perspective, see what's going on for them so that you can meet them with love, not fear. And love is not a weakness where you just let everybody treat you poorly. Love is strength. Love is doing the most self-loving thing for you. It's always going to be the most self-loving thing for them, and actually be able to see their existence without judging and condemning them for being trapped in a fearful state, which we as human beings all experience at some time or another. Hope that long-winded answer was of value to you, Sam. I always appreciate your questions. And Darren's here. Hello. And Jolene and Sam, in your relationships, do you feel conflicts tear you down or build you up? Can do both. Depends who you're in relationship with, right? Because in relationship, you can't control the other person. All you can do is control how you operate in that realm, and you can also control who you decide to be in relationship with. But what I would say to you is that you're in control of whether, so this might be hypocritical of what I just said, but I'm working out the answer as I go. So this is my answer. You're in control of whether the conflict tears you down or builds you up. Nobody else is. It is based on what you make things mean and how you respond to the situation. So sometimes we get into conflicts that feel really bad in the moment. I just had one this morning where, a conversation was not meeting eye to eye, and we got into a conflict over it. And for me, I felt from my perspective, I'm just trying to voice a differing opinion because I felt from my perspective, this person was going down a really judgmental pathway that was actually very defensive, and it was fear-driven from my perspective, not love-driven, not trying to find a solution, but actually put people in a box and kind of say, I'm better than them, and this is the way, and that's not the way, and kind of diminish what these people were what their strengths are. And we've all got balance, we've all got duality, we've all got our good and our bad. But that didn't feel good in the moment. And sometimes conflict is not going to get resolved still with that person. But in actual fact, what I always do is, and I'm actually finding recently that conflict is always building me up, because it really gets me in the flow of my writing. It gets me feeling passionate, inspired, and that's what it did for me today. So instead of letting the conflict tear me down and being caught up in, oh, it didn't feel good, you know, and I haven't totally resolved that conflict, because I'm always living in the moment and talking to you guys about what's going on in the moment with me. But that happened just an hour or so ago, and it got me inspired to do some writing. It got me inspired to present this message to you guys. And so I make sure that it's always building me up. And I know I'll have a conversation with this friend of mine and we'll make it mean something better. It'll make us understand one another at a depth that we wouldn't have had before the conflict. And that's why, you know, I have a perception and a belief that all conflict helps me grow and deepen and develop my connections. And along that journey, you're going to run into connections that they just don't feel that way, and they have a completely different meaning around conflict, and they think you should always agree with one another and always just be building each other up, and you're all light and all this stuff, without actually expressing a differing of opinion. And they see expression of a differing of opinion a bad thing, and you can't build depth of connection with somebody who's going to stay stuck in that mindset. A lot of us start there. But be the leader in your connections and your relationships, so that all conflict does not tear you down. It builds you up. It bridges the gap with any sort of misunderstandings. It expands your mind, you know, outside of your subjective little mindset into enveloping, you know, somebody else's, you know, and that's the greatest gift that conflict can bring to us. But like I said, you're in control of whether that conflict brings you down or tears you up, despite how that other person handles it, because it's the work that you do on you. All right, so hope that was of help to you, Sam. I so appreciate you being here, my friend, as always. And Robin's here, and Dan, hey, superstar to you. And J-Mac and Marlon and Chris is here. Hey, awesome to see you as always. And Ray and Philippe and Sam. Oh, yay, I love another question. How does this conflict message resonate with what you posted earlier, to go where you are celebrated, not tolerated? Awesome question. Oh, I'm loving your questions today, Sam. So cool. All right, so what I would say to you, it's exactly in alignment with this. So the conflict that I was in a little bit this morning, so I'll use that as an example because it's right in front of my face. I really have such a high value on being able to have those kind of conversations where you might have this opinion, but I've got this one, and I want to be open to be able to express that, and not have somebody merely tolerate me when I'm just agreeable. And in fact, celebration of another person is that ability to actually know that we can disagree agreeably, and that's a great thing. I celebrate you for being authentic. I celebrate you and your courage for expressing your opinion that differs from mine, because most connections and relationships, we can't really do that without upsetting or offending somebody. So to me, the kind of relationships that celebrate one another rather than tolerate one another are the ones where we are fully free to express all of who we are, no matter whether it goes against the other person's opinions or judgments. And in actual fact, that's why we celebrate one another. We celebrate the whole entire person, because if two of us are the same, one of us is not necessary. And oftentimes our relationships, we just tolerate people, and instead of seeing that their differences need to be celebrated. And in actual fact, those differences are what make our dynamics so rich. You know, that's what attraction is. Attraction is our differences. You know, if it's why you're not going to get attraction between two masculine energy people. And it's why you're not going to get attraction between two feminine energy people. There's always going to be that masculine and feminine, that yin and yang. That's what attraction is. That's what those differences are. And that needs to be celebrated. And so, oh my God, I feel like I'm going on some rant. But I hope that was that answered your question there, Sam. I so appreciate all your questions. making me really fueled up for my day. So thank you. And Chris, I was just with a woman and she's in love now, and I do feel for her a lot, but I think it's way too fast. I don't know what to do exactly. It's been over the last week. She wants to change her whole life already. I feel like easy come, easy go. I don't know. Maybe I'm just confused and a little scared to be all in so quick. Yeah, okay, awesome. Thanks so much for sharing your experience, Chris. I love hearing that. And yes, we can all definitely differ in terms of how quickly we want to jump into relationships. And we're all kind of wired very differently, you know. So at the end of the day, what we really need to do is have a level of self-awareness to know, you know, whether we're coming from love or fear. You know, some people are wanting to jump straight into a relationship out of fear, because they're like, oh, I don't want to be left by this person and whatever. We're in the rose-colored glasses kind of scheme and we just see all good. And at the same time, somebody jumping into that same action might be coming from real love. You know, they've had an experience, they know who they are, they've had enough experience at this point to know what's right for them. And they're like, why would I waste any more time? Just the same, you know, the people who hold back. Are you holding back from fear? Too scary, I don't want to, like, a fear of an entrapment, right? Whereas the other person might be a fear of abandonment, you know, fear of entrapment. Or is it, you know what, I just want to take my time here. What is the most self-loving thing that I could do in my decision of this relationship? Uncover what that is. Make sure that you're coming from love, not fear. And it could look, the whole scale of human behavior can be coming from either love or fear, that meaning. So what I would say to you, Chris, is to be your own leader and to tap into just deciphering, am I fear driven? Is that why I'm holding back? Or is this actually my strength? Is this, you know what, like, we don't need to rush this. I want to take my time. I want to figure this out. I want to figure out how I really feel, you know, but don't let others direct us. You know, that is the worst thing that we all get caught up in. You know, it's the most certain person always wins, right? You know, if they're really certain and we're uncertain, automatically they kind of become the leader in that dynamic, and it might not be what's right for us. So we have to take it on board to uncover, you know, what I really want, and make sure, I always just put it down into those two umbrellas. It is the best thing that you can do for you is to identify through experience, through reflection, and through experience in the moment, and taking some time to chill out and just go within about, you know, is this coming from love or is this coming from fear? You know, and you'll be able to start feeling that and make that your filter and be your own leader with what's right to you. Hope that is of value to you, Chris. And Chris, yes, you like to take your time, absolutely. So there's nothing wrong with that. And, you know, just make sure that you're communicating that with people, because we're all different. You know, if this woman, you know, could be a really great match for you, you know, and instead of letting the fear of like, well, she operates in this realm where she just dives in really quick and that's how she's wired to work, and you're somebody who takes your time, you know, don't let those differences in who you are create a disconnection to something that could be extraordinary. You know, be open to communicating about your differences and respecting their differences, and communication is key, you know, the whole key saying, but definitely don't let, you know, when we don't communicate about our differences, we expect the other person to just be like us, and we get the wrong message. We make some really bad assumptions that kill something that could be extraordinary. So definitely communicate. And Chris, you made me feel so much better. I'm smiling again. I know it will be okay. Chris, I'm so excited to hear that, my friend. Thank you so much. I'm super grateful that that was of value to you. But we're all different, and just we need to own that and communicate about that and appreciate our differences, because it's the differences, particularly in intimate relationship, that's why you're so attracted to one another, you know, because you're so different. So most people get into relationship because of the differences, right? They're attracted, and those same differences become the things that tear us apart, because we don't get to appreciate them and see that they bring us together, and see that if two of us are the same, one of us is not necessary, and we stop communicating, we start assuming, and we kill everything. So grateful to hear that, Chris. Thank you for sharing. And Ram's here. Lovely to see you as always. And Damien, hello to you, my friend. So guys, that really is my message for you guys today. I really hope that it's got you having kind of a think about your perception on conflict, and realizing that one of the best things that we can ever do for our connections and our relationships is to value conflict, and to be able to disagree agreeably, so that we can actually have depth of connection and not feel like we have to walk on eggshells or hold our opinions back out of fear that it might offend somebody. That is not true depth. Okay, and real depth is celebrating our differences and realizing that one of the greatest gifts that we bring to one another comes from those differences. It expands our minds. It allows us to get out of our own small subjective world and have open-mindedness, expand, learn, grow, and co-create something that we couldn't have done just by ourselves. So, yes, we certainly do, Damien. You'll have to book in one of my 15-minute power sessions. And Sam, so grateful for your inspiring and empowering feedback. Thank you so much. So grateful that it's been inspiring and empowering to you, my friend Sam. So appreciate you. And Chris, loving that this has been a huge help. Thank you so much for letting me know. I really appreciate that. And thanks for sharing. I always love hearing about what's going on in your world for all of you guys. So always share that with me. And if I can be of help in any way, I certainly will. That is it from me today, guys. So as always, I'm sending you all of my love, light, blessings, gratitude, energy, enthusiasm, everything extraordinary coming to you, to wherever you are in the world today. I hope it's beautiful, amazing, and extraordinary. And I hope that you're doing something super empowering. And I really hope that today's message has served you and added value to your life. I really appreciate you guys being here. So much love, and I cannot wait to see you tomorrow.